Welcome back to the Football Kingdom podcast. I am Brandon Johnson here with Tyler Mallon. We are officially through 5 weeks of the NFL season, and Kansas City Chiefs have improved to 4-1. They went up to Minnesota and took on the Vikings. And my highlight for this game was the Kansas City Chiefs defense. They were taking care of business. L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie were making huge plays. And once again, with the Chiefs team that is still trying to find a rhythm on offense, they have a defense that is able to kind of carry them to victories. And with all that being said, the Chiefs defense is going to need to carry them this year. I was looking at the scoring, and the Chiefs offense is the seventh highest scoring team in the league through 5 weeks, which was a little bit surprising to me. I don't know where you're at on that one, Tyler.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that's not surprising considering the kind of slow start they've had. I mean, you miss Kelce in week 1 and, you got all the young guys coming up, but I've seen nothing but improvement, up until including this game, which I thought was the most improved that they've been with the passing game. And honestly, the running game is just as good. It sounds...
They finally have a running game.
Right. Yeah, the Chiefs, being a Chiefs fan, it's very weird to not, because you've had some of the best running backs of all time on your team, and it's just been non-existent for the last couple of years. And now you've got, they keep giving the ball to, 3 guys right now, and it's working. Pacheco is... I don't even know. I don't know how to explain this guy. He's just like a locomotive.
I don't know.
He will not be stopped.
To me, he's like a mix of Marshawn Lynch and Le'Veon Bell.
Beast mode, sure.
It's impressive to watch. And people have been like, Patrick Mahomes is kind of having a down year. And it's not that he's having a down year, it's that he's not really needing to be Superman all these through every play, because he has a running game. He has Isaiah Pacheco that you can get the ball to and, expect him to actually move the ball forward. And again, that hasn't really happened outside of Kareem Hunt for a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's having a down year at all. He just had, like you said, he has more of an overall offense to go to. He doesn't really have a deep threat right now, and they, most of the teams are cutting off the top anyway for the last 3 years, but he doesn't have to. And he's, again, spreading the ball around. He's still making plays with his legs. He's like the 3rd highest, rusher in QBs. I mean, what more do you want the guy to do? He's still the MVP of this team, and I don't know if this is a down year yet again. This is a
down year.
What can you ask?
A down year for Patrick Mahomes is a great year for everybody else. So
right,
you'll take it. And on the subject of trying to figure things out offensively, if you're a team that is 4-1 on top of your division, it's hard to really be upset about anything. The wide receiver core, mainly is the one that we're not really sure about. They had a couple of really good drives during this Vikings game, but I did get a little bit nervous, Tyler. Travis Kelce, non-contact, goes down, and he's back in the locker room. And I kind of thought, I'm like, this is about to be a long season, because that's our one receiver that we know can be productive on the field, and non-contact typically means that you're gone for a little bit, maybe the entire season, and he miraculously came back out.
A little bit nervous is an understatement. That was scary. I was hoping it was just a sprain, even a high ankle. You're like, okay, he can come back later in the year. Hopefully that's worst case and it's nothing else. and miraculous is the word. He comes out, helps the team score, with long drives and scores his own touchdown. But the team looked so good whenever he was out too. I mean, those guys, stepped up, and he spread the ball around. I think Rashid Rice got the end zone.
He did, yeah.
On that drive, which I believe he's leading in red zone targets this year on the Chiefs.
Okay.
So that's something to look at, which it's great. I mean, young guys are coming up and only going to get better. But yeah, I live tweeted this game. So go follow us on Twitter, Football Kingdom, where it's actually at Pod Kingdom, but yeah, you'll find us on there. But that was a lot of fun, actually. First time I'd ever done that, but yeah, this was a really fun game. And you're going back to the defense, like you said, it's great to see them be this dominant, holding Justin Jefferson to 28 yards, through 3 quarters, and then he was hurt. Like that's something, the Vikings are what they are with Cousins. They're not doing that great. The whole 1-score games that they had last year, which they won 80% of, they've already lost 4 in a row or something. Still though, you're talking Justin Jefferson. He's had huge games this year, and for the Chiefs to come out, McDuffie and Reed, like you were saying, to shut down that guy is very impressive. Yeah, they did say that he is headed to IR. Not sure if you heard that, but he's got a hamstring. They're putting him on IR, so he's going to at least be out for 4 games. And I think it was Schefter who was like, yeah, what's his incentive to return if the Vikings aren't competitive? He's in a contract year. He hasn't gotten the contract he wanted. What do the Vikings look like the rest of this year? It's probably not good.
Yeah, that's very true. If they come back and the Vikings are, 3-8 or whatever the math is, I don't think that's correct, but if they're not improved, then
Right.
There's no reason for him to come back. But the Chiefs, going to the fourth quarter, the Chiefs defense was going after Kirk Cousins.
Oh yeah.
He took a few licks, and I was I was like, I don't know the last time I've seen a quarterback get hit that hard the way that he did a couple times. But I wanna get your opinion on the last play, uh the non DPI in the end zone and the no call on the unsportsmanlike conduct.
Okay.
There was a really bad flag to throw in the first place.
Yes.
Because the first thing I said was catchability. That ball was not anywhere near catchable, so I don't understand what the referee was even doing throwing a flag there.
Well, the receiver didn't even see the pass.
That as well.
He had no idea it was even thrown, first of all.
But the conspiracy theorists are out in full force, and the Chiefs yet again get bailed out by the refs. And I've decided that as a Chiefs fan, you know what? Bring it on. I I don't care if we're the hated team in the league and it's all rigged for us, then you know what? I'm gonna embrace it. But the referees did it right by picking that flag up, because that just made no sense. But I do think that they owe an explanation for not calling Snead for unsportsmanlike conduct for removing his helmet. I know that it wouldn't have impacted anything. Obviously, the Chiefs were getting the ball back, so it wasn't like the Vikings would have had the ball on the one, like it. You know what I mean? So But why did they not penalize him? Because they told him to put his helmet on. So I'm not understanding why there wasn't a penalty thrown and the Chiefs weren't backed up 15 yards or half the distance or wherever they were.
It was really shocking because I agree with him picking up the flag in the first place. When he took his helmet off, I'm like, here we go. Like, what is he thinking? I immediately was like, what the heck are you doing? And they don't throw a flag. I was shocked that they didn't. They're looking at him like, put your helmet on, and we're gonna go talk now. And that it's surprising. I don't understand why they wouldn't flag him there, especially because they're just like, oh, we're just gonna talk now, and we understand that you're upset. Put your helmet back on. Like, what are you doing? Like, that I can understand the frustration on any team. It's like, why? That's clearly a penalty, no matter
And
what. Like, you throw that.
what's tough about it is that literally in the game before it, TJ Watt got penalized for doing the exact same thing. It was in a different fashion. It was in celebration,
Yeah.
but it was the same thing. So everybody
Yeah, I
had an
saw that.
immediate reference to go to. They're like, this just happened. So a little bit of inconsistencies and something that should probably get cleaned up, because I was just that whole sequence with throwing the flag, picking up the flag, not not throwing a flag for Snead. It's kind of a bad
Right.
look for the officiating there. But
And to go back to like, the haters, like I get it. Not really, because people have hated the Chiefs since day one. As soon as they won the first Super Bowl, like there was already people calling them out for being the new Patriots. It's like, okay, you don't have no idea what it's like to have been a Chiefs fan, the last 30 years, first of all. So I don't want to hear that. But now it's like, yeah, they get all the calls. They're all always on prime time, so everybody sees it. But give me a break here. I mean, the Vikings had so many chances to not lose, essentially. They burned all their timeouts, before the end of the game, before fourth quarter. Was that right?
it was, if it wasn't
It was
before, it was
in the
very
fourth.
early in the fourth.
It was
Yeah,
like, I think there was 9 minutes left in the game.
and
I
they
think
had
that's what it was.
a horrendous challenge
Yeah.
in the second
Yeah,
half.
you not only are you burning timeouts, that you're not going to win that challenge. That made no sense. You already burned one, so now you're down, you're going to be down one when you lose that challenge, which they did. And then I don't know, they called a really weird game. They seemed fairly successful. They were making drives, but there was one drive where the Chiefs had 4 defensive penalties, that just kept a drive alive, and that
In a
kind of
row.
kept
Yeah,
them. Oh yeah. That kept them in the game too. It's like, yeah, to me, it's people point that stuff out, and being the fan of that team, you can have a clear head and see it that way. Everybody else only sees, oh well, the Chiefs get all the calls. It's like, well,
which is,
be a
it's
better team and beat the Chiefs then.
it's
It's
hilarious.
just,
Yeah, play better. Don't be in a position where the Chiefs have a chance to win or put you down at the end of the game. But you can
yeah,
literally go back to the Jets game a week ago. There were 2 egregious penalties called against the Chiefs.
right.
So I don't know. You can cherry pick whatever you want to fit whatever narrative. But again, I'm embracing it because it's hilarious. That we just haven't figured out that maybe the officiating in sports in general just isn't perfect.
Yeah, it's frustrating to watch.
But all in all, Chiefs are 4-1, and they should have a little an easy one coming up on Thursday night. We'll get to that one in a little bit. But
Yeah, and Mahomes has now beaten every team in the NFL except the Chiefs.
yeah, and it's I think he's the 10th to do that, but I heard that stat and I was like, that feels like it didn't take him that long, and he's the first
Right.
one under 30 to do it.
There you go.
So
That's crazy.
absolutely insane. And this is the first time that he's even had a chance to play the Vikings, because the first time that they had an opportunity, I think Matt Moore was filling in because of Mahomes' knee injury. So
Okay.
finally got his shot. But very cool to honestly just it seems like each week Patrick Mahomes is, the youngest player to do this, the fastest to do that, or just breaking another record or doing something that's just absolutely insane and just building on an already Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, that's the thing is Kansas City fans, are not, Patriots fans. I know this is like a losing battle that I'm just talking, but hey, if you're here, this is my thing. It's like we're very humble. We've had the Royals that we've cheered for forever, and finally got to see them win, and now we have Patrick Mahomes, like one of the most exciting players who's doing all these things super young, and uh, we don't take it for granted. This is something we've always wanted to see, and it is what it is.
Yep. Embrace it. Like you said, don't take it for granted and enjoy it. But enough about the Chiefs for now. There were more games that happened over the weekend, Tyler. Ravens Steelers was uh, one of the early games, and the Ravens had an opportunity, Tyler, to give themselves some separation in the AFC North. They were 3-1 heading into this week. Everybody else was 2-2 or 1-3, and the Ravens. They really messed this one up. They didn't kick a field goal in the first half when they should have. We've seen that bite the Chiefs before in the postseason. They just sometimes get the points. And they also had, I think it was either 7 or 8 dropped passes. I saw Lamar Jackson put multiple passes right into his receivers' hands, and they just dropped them. And the Steelers, they took advantage of the opportunity and ended up winning the game. So the Steelers are in first place in the AFC North, where the Ravens completely screwed up an opportunity to be 4-1 as we're talking today.
Yeah, this was a tough watch, but much like a train wreck, I couldn't look away. So I was watching this and the Dolphins game and flipping back and forth. It was brutal. Like I think Lamar had 3 touchdown passes that were dropped. 3. They were perfect passes. Like these were
Oh my
not
gosh. He
hard
threw one
catches.
to Aguilar that was
Yeah.
beautiful. And it just
Yeah.
went right through his hands.
I mean,
Ow.
even I think Mark Andrews even dropped one. He definitely dropped some passes. I don't know if he dropped one of the touchdowns, but this was not a Lamar, you know, game where he didn't show up. Like he did everything he could, and his team let him down, much like the Chiefs in week 1, just everybody dropping passes. But Steelers made some really good plays at the end because they kept letting them back in the game. And also Lamar did throw that back-breaking red zone interception in the end zone to give it back. And yeah, a lot of mistakes by the Ravens. They just kept giving the Steelers a chance. And as we know, NFL teams are really good, and you give them a chance, they're going to come back and bite you.
And what's tough about that is, like I said, the Ravens had a chance to create a little bit of separation here because the Bengals, Joe Burrow looked really good the other day. 36 for 46, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns. And they're 2-3. And this isn't the first time that the Bengals have had to take a little bit to put something together and find a rhythm. And you might start to see it coming up. And they're 1 game back, still early on in the season. So, and I was hoping just, I guess, for the Chiefs fan in me that we could bury the Bengals early, but they're still going to hang around.
Yeah, and I guess Joe Burrow looked like his old self. Jamar Chase had 16 catches, 3 touchdowns or something like that.
Yep. Yeah, just under 200 yards receiving.
So, That was without T. Higgins in that game, so give them a chance to come back. They're probably going to do it if Burrow's healthy.
Yep. AFC North is always good, fun football to watch. I've always felt like that division when they play each other, just like the Ravens and Steelers, those games are so physical.
Right.
I
Yeah,
think it's
the
gonna
whole
be
division. They're all
gonna
kind
be
of. Sorry.
you're good.
I was gonna say they're all kind of rivals. You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Yeah, it's gonna be tight and interesting to watch down the stretch. I'm not really sure what's going on with Deshaun Watson. He's had an injury, but and they're making a big deal of him practicing inside when the rest of the team was practicing outside. So I have no clue what's going on with the Browns other than they are doing Browns things. And speaking of teams doing things that they are known for, the Cowboys had an opportunity here. Went into San Francisco Sunday Night Football to play the 49ers, and Jerry Jones said earlier this week how we play against the 49ers will kind of tell us where we are as a team this season. And this would have been this game should have had some juice for the Cowboys. 49ers knocked the Cowboys out of the playoffs for 2 seasons in a row. I was kind of hoping the Cowboys would come in here and try to make a statement. 49ers are the Super Bowl favorites right now. And this would have been a good time to play the Niners tough or even beat the Niners on the road and have people actually take you seriously as a team. And that just didn't happen. The Cowboys went in there and it ended up being a laugher. Dak Prescott was terrible. Honestly, maybe one of the worst games in his career. Three interceptions. And to me, I can't after watching that sit here and say, yeah, I think the Dallas Cowboys are a serious Super Bowl contender.
No, Dak, and this is why we talk about Dak the way we do. In the preseason, we're like, listen, Dak, we just don't believe in this guy. Never really have. Don't really see it with him. He has, you know, spurts of games where he looks good, but this is one of those games where you go in and you're like, you have to show what you're worth, like you said, and they just no showed. I mean, it wasn't even competitive. 10 points. I mean, honestly, the Niners have a fantastic team, especially when they're all healthy. I think Kyle Juszczyk had 2 touchdowns or something. I mean, the team is just stacked, and the Cowboys had no answers, not even on defense. So no, it's absolutely Niners and Eagles in the NFC. I don't really see the
Yeah,
Cowboys making a stance in the playoffs at all.
no, but it's Niners, Eagles, and everybody else. And like even if the Cowboys stumbled into a matchup against 49ers, if they found themselves in a title game somehow, I think it's just going to be another ugly matchup where the 49ers just have their way. But with the 49ers, they are 5-0 along with the Eagles, but 49ers have always been good. We've talked about it. Kyle Shanahan, I think he's a great coach, and they haven't really had a quarterback that you feel like makes a real impact on the team as long as Kyle Shanahan's been there. And now you have Brock Purdy, who, you know, for me, it's time to take him off the probation period. He's a bona fide NFL quarterback, and he's a good one. And they already had a great roster, and now you have a quarterback that you see he can do it. So the 49ers are terrifying.
Yeah, both them and the Eagles, sitting in the AFC, watching these guys just go at it. It's clearly those 2 teams, and you're absolutely right. Brock Purdy threw 4 touchdowns. He's just Mr. Irrelevant, and he looks like one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. And there's all these people talking about like, Other guys could come in. I think it was Orlovsky who said Mac Jones would look just as good in his
Mm,
position. I'm like, come on, guy. Like this is this is a different level of QB for a guy who got drafted last. And it's I'm a believer, because in the preseason I said, hey, I don't know if he's the guy. Like you're pushing, all your chips in on this dude and trading away Trey Lance and all this, and he's clearly the dude. He's built for this offense, and I really do think it is the coaching that's just kind of unlocking this guy.
yeah, there's great coaching, and you had fair hesitation going into the season because Purdy had that injury, had the surgery, and he needed to recover. So it was fair to question, are they making the right move by going with him? But to be able to have a first round quarterback and go, nah, we're good. We're gonna go with the guy that we drafted last, and be able to say we're gonna do that, and then it works out. I mean, what else can you do?
Right.
The Jags and the Bills matched up with each other in London over the weekend. Jacksonville stayed over there for the last couple weeks to play their home away from home games and brought in the Bills and ended up taking care of business, beating them 25-20, putting themselves on top of the AFC South after winning two straight and knocking the Bills back down to second, putting the Dolphins back in first in the AFC East.
Yeah, the Bills came in and you were thinking they're definitely going to win this game. Well, not definitely, but they're clearly the stronger team or have been in the past. And it's pretty much a home game. I heard that there was a lot more Bills fans, especially because London is kind of a home, Jaguar. Like they really been trying to make that a Jags home game, and apparently there was a lot of Bills, homers there as well. But um, I don't know. There was a lot of talk about jet lag and this and that. It's like I don't really buy that. You're there playing a football game. I think you're the better team and probably should have won this, but you know, lose against the Jags is kind of the kind of Josh Allen's forte. Like he just kind of goes up and down week to week. You don't really know what you're gonna get with this dude.
Yeah, I think that the Bills are also, I think they lose to Jacksonville a lot. So can't say I'm super surprised. Yeah, so Jacksonville comes back to the States and they take on the Colts to see who's going to lead the AFC South. I did not think that the Colts were going to do remotely anything this season, but they've got 3 wins. And so far, they're going to make Jacksonville work for winning that division.
Yeah. So Anthony Richardson is actually going to be out. They just say sometime, but he had a really bad shoulder injury. Um, so yeah, I don't really see the Jags losing this next game this week. They just say Richardson's got an AC joint sprain, so yeah, I would be shocked if the Jags go in and don't take care of business.
A few other games to look at heading into week 6. Kind of another just week slate of football games. Nothing really standing out. Chiefs take on the Broncos on Thursday Night Football in a game that the Chiefs should win comfortably. I know it's inside the division, so that's where weird things happen. But I think the Chiefs should go in and take care of business. Along with that, Cowboys and Chargers are on Monday night, and this is a game that I actually think, having said what I said about the Cowboys, I still think they're a good football team, and I think that they'll go into Los Angeles and honestly probably have a home crowd out there, and I think they'll take care of business against the Chargers.
Yeah, that's kind of what they do. They're really good against mediocre or bad teams, and can't show up against the teams that, yeah, going back to the Cowboys Niners, like you really want to see them, like that's a preview of the playoffs. And if they don't show up now, like who cares? Now we don't care whenever the Cowboys and Niners potentially meet up in the playoffs. Like we already know the outcome. Like they got totally embarrassed. I don't really see them getting better, So now you're just like, okay, well the Cowboys are they're kind of a non-issue in the playoffs at this point. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that Cowboys will go in, take care of the Chargers. I don't know. It could be a good game. Chargers are pretty good. They might be getting Eckler back. So could be a pretty good matchup.
We need the Cowboys to win that game, just for the sake of the AFC West.
Yeah.
The Chiefs and Broncos, obviously the Broncos just can't seem to do anything right. Can't, the one win they had was a comeback victory over arguably the worst team in football and the Chicago Bears. So if the Chiefs have any sort of trouble with this game, I will be surprised. I have the Chiefs winning this game like 28-10. I think that the Broncos can stumble into a touchdown somewhere, and I think this is a game where you see the wide receiver core start to blossom and the defense just have a shutdown game.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk on the Broncos locker room about, they're already going to start blowing it up and trading things away. It's not sounding very good from their reporters. So yeah, this would be a perfect time for the Chiefs to really, spread out their passing game and figure out what exactly they want to do. I don't have any belief that the Broncos will be competitive, especially after the Jets game that they had. I think we got to watch like the last 3 minutes of that game, and it's just comedy of errors, just boneheaded plays by Russell Wilson. And yeah. And if there's people talking about, will Kelce be healthy? It's like, sit Kelce. I think we could start Blaine Gabbert and beat this Broncos team. So I got no worries here. So yeah, that'll do it for us this week. Go check us out on Twitter at Pod Kingdom. And thanks for listening to Football Kingdom. We'll see you next week.